All right. Well, not that long ago, we actually talked about Dread 3D, and I gave a rundown of who was in it. Just to be brief, it's a science fiction action film directed by Pete Travis, written by Alex Garland. It's about Judge Dredd. It stars Carl Urban as Judge Dredd. The basic gist of the story is that the future United States has become an irradiated wasteland known as the Cursed Earth, and on the east coast of North America lies Mega City 1, which is this vast, violent metropolis containing about 800 million residents, where about 17,000 crimes are reported daily. The only force of order to keep all this in line are the judges. These are people who act as judge, jury, and executioner, and probably the most famous of these judges is Judge Dredd. In this particular film, Judge Dredd is having to go after some people who have fallen prey to a new addictive drug called slow-mo that slows down the user's perception of time to 1% of its normal speed. In the opening of the film, he's tracking down three people who are using it, and from on, he has to find out where it's coming from and take out the people responsible for it. It's not a complicated movie at all, and for me, that's one of its blessings. Aaron, you and I were the only two, I believe, who saw the film this
Yep.
weekend. First, I mean, why don't you tell me, did you think that the story for this film worked? Was it enough? Was it not enough? Kind of tell me where you felt with it.
Just much like you and I both reviewed Resident Evil Retribution last week. There's no story in this. I mean, the story. It's not a story-based movie. There's certain kinds of movies where I think it's okay to not have a huge overhanging story. This is very much just a simple plot. Judge Dredd, trapped in a building, has to get to Mama, played by Lena Headey, and needs to get the hell out, get the hell out alive. It's really that simple. The whole purpose of this story is to show him killing people in vastly cool ways, and to accelerate the plot until he finally gets to Mama, the main bad person, and dispatches her however he sees fit. That's the entire plot.
I feel like a video game.
Of course, Scott. It's like a video game.
It sounds like a video game plot to me.
Well, working his way up. Well, let me say this. A lot of people have said that this is ripping off The Raid, which was an Asian film about a group of cops that have to work their way up a tenement building to get to the bad guy. And on first blush, that does sound accurate. But when you watch the film, that isn't actually what he has to do. He doesn't have to work his way methodically up through this building. It's an incredibly tall building, and he does have to get to the top, but there's lots of going up, kind of coming back down, then going back up, and it's not at all ripping off The Raid in that aspect, but to Scott's point, there is a little bit of that. I mean, you could see some of these different levels having that kind of video gamey feel, but really, I never got that impression in the game, or in the movie.
Yeah.
In the movie, that I was watching a video game styled movie, not like Resident Evil was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this movie does not have a big plot. It has a very basic plot. I love that because in this sort of a movie, other movies have fallen prey to wanting to overcomplicate things so that people might go, "Ooh, wow, look at that interesting story." And then all they really end up doing is clogging it up, slowing it down, and then the movie just falls prey to the weight of this complicated story. This film has none of it, and it's to its benefit. I love that it's very simple. There's not a lot going on. And I mean, story-wise, so then you're free to just sit back and bask in the blood and the violence. Absolutely loved it in that respect. Now, with the acting on this film, Carl Urban, to his credit, never takes that helmet off. Unlike Sylvester Stallone in his movie. So really a lot of his acting is done through the voice and his chin. How did you feel like the acting was done in this film? And he's not the only star in it. There's a Judge Anderson who's played by a young Anna Kendricksy looking woman. And of course, you already said Lena Headey, who is usually, I think, known to more people either through the Sarah Connor Chronicles or as
Mama Lannister.
Mama Lannister in the Game of Thrones TV show. They're all, in this film doing their thing. What did you think of the acting overall?
I agree with you 100%. All you see is Urban's chin the entire movie. So his chin is the actor, really. Mm-hmm. And it was chiseled after Chin Master Bruce Campbell himself because the thing just carried the role and kicked ungodly amounts of ass. I thought he was great. I mean, obviously, his job is very simple. I gotta be very stoic, do my job. I just gotta stay focused and get the hell out of here. That's all he has to do. He tries to be very comical without being comedic. You know what I mean? So I thought he did a really good job. I really wasn't expecting it. I really, I remember saying this when the trailer first came out that I think it looked god awful. I remember the movie's coming closer and closer. Everybody's raving about it because it was at Comic-Con. Fanboys went nuts, and I just went, whatever. These are a bunch of guys that just want to see this comic book movie. They don't like Stallone, whatever it is. So they're just raving about it. Closer and closer it got, the more good buzz it got, the more interested I became in it. And I wasn't going to go see it. And then Justin told me that, all right, it's actually really good. So I finally caved. I went and saw it.
Spoiled in review, bro.
I loved it. What's that?
So way to spoil my end thoughts.
Oh, sorry. Hang on. Olivia Thirlby, I don't know how you say her name, but she played the partner, Judge Anderson, and she wears the heart of the movie. She plays kind of like a psychic, and she wears it well. I think she does a really nice job balancing his ridiculous over-the-topness and kind of bringing it down to a normal level. And I think Lena Headey she's a very good villain, but she's very much just the Lannister. I mean, she's very cool and vicious and evil.
Yeah, the audience is their window into this movie is Judge Anderson, Olivia Thirlby. She does not wear a helmet in the movie, and he actually says, "Why aren't you wearing your helmet?" Because all judges have to wear, and she gives a reason why, and that's actually a lead into a funny joke that he makes. But because she's not wearing her helmet, because she's younger, and because she's new to this, she gets to be our window into this story and the person whom we view most of it through. And she's the one that I think we worry more about their fate than Dredd. Dredd is one of those characters that is tougher than nails, and you really don't worry if he's going to make it. But she's a lot more open to getting hurt. So I thought she carried that role really, really well. And I thought Carl Urban did a really great job. Mm-hmm. I mean, he does. All he's got is his chin and his action. I was afraid that from the trailers, it looked like he was just going to try and sound like Batman through the whole movie. Luckily, that's not the case. He does have a gruffness to his voice, but it's never to the level that they did in the Batman films. It's a bit more back and a little more natural. So I was thankful as hell that I wasn't going to have to listen to fake gravelly voice. And I thought Lena Headey did a really good job as Mama. I mean, she's a vicious, dark character, very just brutal in everything that she does. And I think the best special effects in the movie were making a good-looking woman like her look like shit.
Yeah, she looked pretty horrible.
She was toe up from the flow up. I mean, good God. And this is the woman that I have routinely in the past thought, man, she is hot. And this one, no, I ain't hitting that at all. Not even with the stolen dick. I am not getting near her. And not just because she's meaner in hell. She looked terrible. I almost wouldn't have recognized her.
What do you think about the production? I mean, I heard the budget's about $50 million, but it looks really, really cool and gritty, and I think you actually feel this way too, a distinct 80s vibe about it.
Oh, man, there is a huge 80s vibe. In fact, the music, quite often, I thought, did they get John Carpenter to score this film?
I thought that, too.
Because it has a lot of a Carpenter feel to it. But for me, what this film really did well, and probably where most of their money went, is in the 3D. Most movies that do 3D do not need 3D, and they don't do 3D very well at all. This film, 3D is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it is worth it to go to the movies, spend the money, see that 3D movie, because what they do that most movies don't do is they do the whole, depth of field. It's not so much about what's coming at you, though there is a lot of shit coming at you, most of it bullets and blood. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of the way the blood hangs in the air, and you see it against the other things that are in the background. It's against the dust flying through the air, or when they take that slow-mo, which luckily they don't overdo the slow-mo either, so no worries about constant bullet time kind of stuff. They do it sparingly, and when they do it, it's beautiful. The colors, the way things slow down, but it's all that depth of field. But they do a lot of money with people getting shot and their bodies kind of rippling to the bullets, the blood spraying. Looks amazing. And there were several times where the blood actually looked like it was flying past the screen itself.
Yeah,
and
that
I
was
don't know
really
if they
well.
did that by shrinking in the image so that there was a bit of blackness at the around the frame so the blood could flow into it. But it actually did look like it was going past the screen. It looked fantastic. It looked like 50 million, if not more. It was a really good looking movie.
And because they are in this giant apartment complex, there's a lot of numerous claustrophobic encounters. And there's one in particular that really starts the movie going, where they break into a room. All these guys have been doing slow-mo, so they're all high. And basically what slow-mo does, to the person doing it, it makes time slow down. So that's when all these special effects come into play. And this 3D scene is Judge Dredd breaking through a door and taking all these guys out, and they're all basically seeing it all in slow motion. Sounds like something that's cliched and you've seen 1,000 times, but the way they do it and the way that the 3D works was the best I've seen in I don't know how long.
Man.
Really, for a movie that is probably going to end up making like $20 million or less, because it totally flopped. It's really a shame, because they really put a lot of money and effort into the 3D effects. Justin's right; it looks great.
Yeah, I think the 3D looks. Well, we mentioned that earlier, disparagingly. Mm-hmm. I thought Avatar did amazingly well. Was the 3D, and for me, this is the best since then. Fantastically done. I love the 80s vibe. So if I have to give this film my final review, would I give it 1 out of 10? Easily an 8, 8.5.
Nice.
Say an 8 just for clarity's sake, but it was surprisingly good.
I can't believe I'm saying this, because I really went into this movie expecting to hate it. Dredd 3D was one of those movies that was made to make fanboys smile. It's not going to win any awards. Probably won't make. Well, I know it's not going to make a ton of money. It already flopped. But mark my words, this will be one of those cult hits. Your friends are like, "Come on over, you got to check this out. You've never seen it." You know, one of those movies. That's what this movie is. Mm-hmm. So if $10 is the full price of admission, I give it an 8.